There's something strange that few people realize. The actions you think are just your personality might simply be your body's way of responding to what has already passed. And if you watch this video to the end, you'll understand why you always feel exhausted despite doing nothing, why your relationships keep repeating the same patterns, and most importantly, how to break free from that cycle. This isn't just theory, but discoveries from neuropsychology about how the brain remembers danger. Imagine a simple situation. You're talking with someone and they raise their voice slightly. Not shouting, not arguing, just emphasizing a point. But immediately, your heart races faster, your palms start sweating, your body ready to respond as if facing a threat. Later you ask yourself, why did I get so tense over a normal conversation? The answer lies in the fact that for you, it was never normal. At some point in the past, a raised voice meant danger was approaching. And even though there's no danger now, the warning system in your brain still operates like it did on day one. This is just one example among 7 signs I'm about to share. 7 habits that seem harmless, but are actually echoes of what you've been through. And what's noteworthy is that most young people today carry at least 3 of these without even knowing it. The first sign is apologizing excessively. Not the polite kind, but apologizing for everything, even when there's nothing to apologize for. Sorry for asking, sorry for existing in that space, sorry for needing someone. Others think you're overly modest, but that's not the truth. It's fear that has eaten deep into your reflexes. The fear that if you don't apologize first, consequences will come later. In the past, perhaps not apologizing made you face tension-filled silence, or harsh words, or worse, complete indifference. So your brain learned a simple rule: apologizing is the safest way to exist. And now, even though no one threatens you anymore, you continue apologizing. Not because you want to, but because you don't know any other way. The second sign: difficulty saying no. This isn't simply about being kind or wanting to help others. This is the deep feeling that if you say no, you might lose acceptance, lose your place. You agree to things you don't want, stay in situations that hurt you, because in your memory, refusing meant being abandoned. It meant being punished with distance. So you learn to survive by pleasing others. But there's a price to pay for this. You accumulate resentment, anger at yourself, exhaustion from always having to play someone else. Living while constantly saying yes isn't living, it's trying not to die. And the dangerous thing is, gradually you forget what you really want. The third sign: excessive vigilance. You walk into a room and the first thing you do is identify the exits. You can read other people's moods before they say a word. A small change in tone, in facial expression, in the way they move. You catch it immediately. People praise you for being sensitive, perceptive, but you didn't choose that. You were forced to be that way, because there was a time when your safety depended on your ability to anticipate danger. You needed to read the smallest signals to know when to retreat. And now, even though there's no danger left, the warning system inside you still won't turn off. You live in a state of readiness 24 hours a day, and that exhausts you in a way that no one can see from the outside. The fourth sign is minimizing your own emotions. Someone hurts you, you say it's fine. Someone disappoints you, you say it's nothing. You cry alone, then pretend nothing happened, because you learned that your emotions were a burden to others. Crying was weakness, complaining was exaggeration. So you swallowed it all and kept swallowing until it became a natural reflex. But there's a consequence you haven't realized. When you minimize your emotions, you're teaching others that they can do the same. And gradually, you fall into a loop where no one takes what you feel seriously, not even yourself. You create a world where your pain isn't allowed to exist. The fifth sign: you cannot accept help. When someone reaches out, you pull back. When they insist on supporting you, you feel uncomfortable enough to want to disappear, because deep in your psyche, you learned that depending on someone is dangerous. Maybe because when you needed them, no one came. Or worse, they came but demanded double in return. So you decided it was safer to do everything yourself. And the result is you live in endless exhaustion. You carry burdens that could have been shared, but opening up to someone feels like risking your life. For you, vulnerability isn't strength like people say, but a threat. You'd rather work yourself to death than have to ask for help. The sixth sign, you carry other people's guilt. Friends argue, you think it's your fault. Someone is sad, you feel you should have done something. Something goes wrong, you take responsibility before even understanding what happened. Because you grew up believing you were responsible for the mood, the peace, the happiness of everyone around you. And whenever something wasn't right, it was always your fault. So you internalized it. If something is bad, it's because I failed. But there's something even more painful in this story. You carry guilt that doesn't belong to you, and that prevents you from living lightly, because you're always trying to fix things you never broke. The final sign, you cannot trust good things. When something positive happens, instead of enjoying it, you wait for disaster. You get a new job, you worry whether you can keep it. You meet someone good, you wonder how long before they disappoint you. You can't relax into joy, can't believe that good things can simply stay. Because in the past, every time you allowed yourself to be happy, pain arrived right after. So you learned not to trust what's good. And this creates a deeply painful way of living. You destroy your own success before anyone else can do it. You push others away before they leave you. Because in your mind, if you control the pain, it hurts less. But the truth is, you're creating the very thing you fear most. And then you get stuck in the loop of saying, I knew it wouldn't work, not because it was destined to fail, but because you didn't give it a different chance. Now, the important thing to understand is that recognizing these signs doesn't mean you're broken. It means you survived. You found ways to protect yourself when necessary. And that's not weakness, but survival strategy. But the truth is also that what once protected you may now be imprisoning you. The defense mechanisms that saved you as a child now prevent you from living fully. The constant vigilance that kept you safe now steals your peace. The automatic apology that helped you avoid conflict now makes you disappear in your own relationships. The problem isn't that you developed these strategies. The problem is you don't need them anymore, but your body doesn't know that yet. You're fighting battles that have ended, running from dangers that no longer exist, protecting yourself from people who might only want to love you. And the hardest thing is that these protective layers feel like part of who you are. You don't even remember what it was like to live without them. But that doesn't mean you have to keep carrying this weight. You have the right to live more lightly. You don't need to carry this alone. You don't need to keep living on autopilot, reacting to threats that no longer exist. Recognizing these patterns is the first step. The second step is allowing them to change. And if you realize these behaviors are hindering your life, there's nothing wrong with seeking professional help. Sometimes to change, we need someone to walk alongside us. Someone who understands that what you're carrying wasn't a choice but a legacy. And that legacy can be put down. The question isn't whether you recognize yourself in these signs. The question is what you'll do with that recognition. Will you continue living as if the past is still happening? Or will you allow yourself to rewrite the story? Because the truth is, you're not there anymore. You're here now, where you have the right to be safe without needing to be ready to fight, where you can say no without fearing abandonment, where your emotions are allowed to exist without asking anyone's permission. And perhaps, just perhaps, that's what you've been looking for all along. Not a quick fix, not an easy answer, but permission. Permission to rest after a long battle. Permission to believe that not every sound is danger. Permission to live as if you deserve good things, because you do deserve them. And reminding yourself of that isn't selfish, it's fair.